I'm tired and sleepy, but I'm loving these. We got another theory for you, right? So it has to do with the Bible. Oh man, I'm about to make a lot of people mad. Um. Oh yeah, I'm about to make a lot of people mad. Hmm. I'm about to make a lot of people mad. Yeah. Like I said, these are theories. Okay, based off of information that I know and evidence. Um, this probably, man, I need to make this one a short one. I need to get straight to the point. Here's my thing, people. Mm, what if I wrote a book, a religious book, told you it was wrote from the words of God, then told you that, oh, some people will turn from it, and also tell you that first shall be last, last shall be first, all this other stuff, right? Is this the reason why rich people are scared? Because they think they're going to be poor? What if I was to tell you, because of that fear concept, that a lot of lives have been destroyed? When we look at Christianity, it's basically the easiest religion to use for manipulation. There's a lot of people out there who say, and I need to be careful with my words, but there is a lot of people out there who say that, the Muslim belief, they teach hatred and all this other stuff. But when we look at it, Christians killed a lot of people too. We need to look at all religion for what it is. It's used for control. Oh man, so, whoo. Dude, I love doing these. I feel like I have a platform to actually talk about. So many ideas in my head. Okay, so let's look at it like this. If I wanted to control you, like I said before, like the secret societies, I use fear. When we look at the Bible and the way it's taught, now we're going to look at the way it's taught, not for what it is, but for the way it's taught. Here's my theory. What if Christianity was created as a means of control? I know y'all sitting there thinking, all Christians do this. Like, you can't really talk and have a conversation. Like I said, I used to be a Christian. You can't really talk and have an honest conversation about things. Like, I even got snapped on for asking, did Adam and Eve's kids have incest? Because it's like, if all men came from them, then doesn't that mean that Cain and Abel slept with their sisters? I got flack for that. And I was a little kid asking these questions. Because when you're a kid, it's like, you see, it takes a man and a woman to make a child, right? At that point, you already know. It's like, you're not going to go your whole life thinking that babies come from storks being flown in. No, I hate it when they told that crap. It's like, come on. That's like telling me Santa Claus is real. Or is he? But anyways, so here's my thing. And this is what I honestly think for what it is that if I wanted to control you, all I have to do is make you fear something greater than me. Let me say that again. If I want to control you, all I have to do is make you fear something that's greater than me. Right? The best way to control is through fear. If you can't instill fear in someone, you cannot control them. And therefore, by definition of the meaning, that makes them dangerous. You couldn't control Malcolm X. He was dangerous. You couldn't control Dwight Eisenhower. He was dangerous. You couldn't control John F. Kennedy. He was dangerous. You couldn't control Abraham Lincoln. He was dangerous. I literally just named 3 out of those 4 people who were assassinated because they could not be controlled. Okay? The reason why they wanted Donald Trump out of office because they couldn't control him. It wasn't because they claimed he was evil. No, they just couldn't control him. They were afraid of him because he was not afraid of them. They couldn't control him. And you can tell when there was a shift in Trump's attitude. When Trump got in office, it was like gun-ho for the American people. He was strong head fast. But soon as they swapped out his personal security for Secret Service, Trump kind of slowed down on what he was doing. Did y'all notice that? Because here's the thing. They wanted you to believe that we were spending $2 million of the American people's money for his personal bodyguards when it costs around that same or even a few $1,000,000 more for the Secret Service. Yeah, like I said, it's easy to control you with fear. So you was like, yay, get Secret Service protection. And then as soon as he did, Trump had to act different because he knew these people who control this group of people can have his family under their thumb now. Which is the reason why he wanted his own personal bodyguard. But we're not going to get any further into that, though. Like I said, that's just a theory. But the real theory is the birth and the faith of Christianity. Think about it. Okay, so if I've been taught for over 6,000 years that no other God comes before me, and I know there's going to be some Christians who actually explain this. That's why I say this theocracy. I know the answer to this to myself, but I want you to think about it. I know the answer, but I want you to think about it. Because it's good to get the brain thinking. Okay, if people tell you you're not allowed to free think, do not mess with them. If you ever get a pastor who tells you you're not allowed to free think, don't be near them. Because the reason why I'm no longer a Christian, because I was not allowed to free think. Whereas if I was allowed to free think, I probably would have still been a Christian. Okay, but here it goes. Imagine a race of people who's taught for 6,000 years using the commandments that no other God shall become before me. And then you have this man who comes on earth who I gotta watch my words, who calls himself the Son of God, because I was gonna say something else. I was gonna say who has the audacity, but who calls himself the Son of God, right? But when they challenged him on this one, Jesus said, do you not call yourselves sons of God? Or no, I'll rephrase that wrong. He said, you yourself are gods or something like that. So if you see you yourself as gods, why can I not be called the Son of God? Yeah, that's what he said. Something like that. Yeah, that's what he said. So when we look at that, it's also the same thing that's taught in Kemetic culture, is that we are gods. Why you think in certain places like New York, they always say, what up, God, or something like that? Because they believe God is in everybody. Which is technically true, because if Creator is responsible for all of creation and we're made in God's image, we are like God. We are not God, but we are like God. There's a difference. Okay, so we are creator-like, if that's what I want to say. So when we look at it, the doctrine of Christianity, and basically it's saying that in the New Testament that Jesus Christ represents the new covenant. Now, here's a theory. Because when we think about it, first of all, when we look at Jesus Christ's life, why did it cut off in the period of 12 years old? People are like, oh, he went and traveled the world. Really? Right around puberty? Males go through puberty between the ages of 8 and 12. So you mean to tell me right before he hits 13, he just goes and travels the world, right? So how many other histories of the world besides Jerusalem has any knowledge or any sayings or any interactions with Jesus Christ? We look at the Bible. The Bible says that he was gone for a certain amount of time, right? All of a sudden he comes back. We see him gospel for a few years and then he dies on the cross, right? A cross which a lot of people wear around their neck, not realizing that crucifixions were done long before Christ was even born. So you wearing a cross does nothing. You know them Exorcist films where they have the cross, and I know this personally firsthand, where they have the cross hold up and like, Christ compels you. That cross don't do anything to a demon. It does squat. Because that cross initially means death anyways. Let me prove it to you. When we look at the Ankh represents infinite life, right? The Ankh is basically a T with a circle on top, right? Or oval on top, right? Now, this one brother, I can't remember his name, but shout out to that brother. This one brother says that basically the cross, the parts of the cross represents the male and the female child, while the bottom part represents the shaft of the man entering into the womb of the woman, which is the oval, and therefore produces the next generation, which stands for the circle of life. So the Ankh represents life, the continuation of life. Now, when we look at the cross, in which the Romans was used for years and years and years to execute people on, it represents death. Why? Because there's no woman involved. Without the woman, you can't reproduce. So that was the message the woman was sending when they used the cross in the first place. Okay? So you got two shafts. They can't reproduce. Why? Two males can't reproduce. So you got two shafts, right? This, and the Romans use this as a symbol way to crucify people, right? We say Christ crucified for all our sins, but crucifixions, and they won't tell you this because they will take this out the Bible. Crucifixions were done for years. So, and there are even priests who tell you that the cross alone means nothing. The only thing that has meaning is the cross that has Christ on it. So if you're wearing a cross that has Christ on it, it has more of a meaningful meaning than if you just holding up a simple cross. Because that simple cross just means death. So you're basically trying to get rid of a demon with death. That's not going to work. Okay, so we got to look at it that way. Okay? Now, if we was to go further into it, and this might blow your mind. Like I said, this is this theory. So we have this cross, right? And hold on, let me get a piece of paper to write on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw the Ankh, right? Or not the actual Ankh. We're just going to draw a representation of it. And then we're going to draw the cross. Okay, so it's not a perfect drawing. I don't feel like really. Okay, so we have the Ankh right here. You have the shaft. You have the cross section right there. You have the oval, which represents the room. And then we have the cross right here. Now, this said to represent life. This said to represent death, okay? Or, most Christians use it to represent the resurrection, even though that doesn't make any sense because the resurrection happened days later. The resurrection didn't happen on the cross. The cross is what's used as a representation of him making that new covenant, right? And there's some good Christians out there who will actually break it down for you. The ones I'm talking about is the fake Christians who do all the hollering and all the fake speaking in tongues and this and that stuff, but don't even know the history of what they're even worshiping in the first place. It's like you could at least try to study. Hey, all they know is Jerusalem and Bethlehem. They don't even know the rest of the areas over there. Okay, so we're not gonna get into that. Okay, so if I take the woman out, right? Because this is from Africa. If I take the woman out, because remember, Africa revered the woman. So if I take her out, there's nothing but death. And if you notice within the Christian faith, women are said to not be able to speak unless they have a headdress on in that house. You know, the man is the head of the household, and the women gotta do what she says, and she stays at home with the, yada yada yada, all that other stuff, right? So where is the importance of the woman? The woman is just as important as the man, if not even more important, because it's the woman who nurtures the next generation. The man protects the next generation. She nurtures the next generation. Okay. And that's what people are not realizing. So when you have the man shaft enter the womb, it produces the next generation, which is protected and held up by the man. Because let me go ahead and put some. Let me go ahead and put some more on there for that. Let me go ahead and put some more on there for that. Okay. We gonna write and break this down, right? You feel me? So, okay, so you have the man shaft that enters the woman's womb, right? Now, does that look familiar? Sperm. Anyways, so we have the man's shaft that enters the woman's womb and produce the next generation, the boy and girl. Now, if you really was to break down the Ankh and really pay attention to it, it also shows how it's the man that holds up the family. The woman's at the top for a reason. So even though he is head of household, he rules through the woman who nurtures the next generation. And it all held up and protected by the man. That's deep, right? So what happens when we take the woman out of it? There's nothing but death, which is the reason why the Romans, one of the reasons why the Romans used the cross to crucify on, because it represented death. Okay? I think they was doing crucifixions 235 years before Christ was born or something like that. I got to relook that information up. Like I said, but these are theories. Okay? Now, check this out. If you cannot reproduce, what are you holding up? Because at the end of the day, if you cannot reproduce, this is all you have. It's just a rod. That's it. Just a rod. Just one long rod. Just like the rod Aaron had. Okay, so we're not going to get any further into that. We're just going to stop that right there. Now, if we also look at it, a lot of Christianity demonizes the African belief and religious system, right? So black is seen as evil, white is seen as good. You see what I'm saying? And so that's a lot of what they did around that time, was they demonized anything that was black. You know what I'm saying? So here's what's up though. In Africa, when they had the head crowns, right? Now, they had the head crowns, which is similar to the same crowns that the Roman Catholic Church wears. It's funny how the Roman Catholic Church use a lot of paganism in stuff. There's no denying that. You can't sit there and no, look at the proof. Like I showed you, it was a picture of the Anunnaki who had the same thing over their head. It's the same thing the Africans wear. Now, most in African culture have a snake right here, which represents the Kundalini. Okay, the spirit path where the seven chakras rest on. Okay, so in that retrospect, I know somebody's gonna post a comment. Do your research. Why do you think I'm telling you this? Okay, so these priests, they kind of wore something that was similar to that, right? It's the same thing that the Pope wears now, okay? Which is, it's funny. But in that culture, in religious beliefs in Christianity, snake is seen as evil. Why is that? When African revered the snake, Babylonians revered the snake. But for some odd reason, when it comes to Christianity, the snake is evil. All of a sudden, it's the one animal that was allowed itself to get cursed by Lucifer. And see, that's another thing that we got to look at too. That's another thing that didn't make any sense to me. Why is God cursing everybody based off the actions of one person, but yet we each get individually judged on our own? If that was true, you wouldn't have judged the whole entire world off the sin of two people. All sin into the world through Adam. Okay, so I gotta be born into sin because he messed up and I wasn't even here yet. Make that make sense. But yet I'm being judged by my actions. No, I think I was already judged by somebody else's actions before I got here, and now I gotta work myself up to the top to fix and get to where I need to go. Because somebody else sinned and you decide to have me suffer for somebody else's sin. So, and then to say that sin entered the world, technically if Lucifer was already there, sin was already in the world. Otherwise, Lucifer shouldn't have been able to be in that garden in the first place. Just like it was so convenient how the tree was planted in that garden in the first place. So did God really want man to fall? So, when we look at it that way, I believe that, and the reason why I'm saying all of this, like I said, this is all theory. The reason why I'm saying all this is because I'm about to connect you to something. Remember what I said about secret societies believing that Lucifer is the god of knowledge and represents knowledge and freedom? What if I was to tell you subliminally, using Christianity, that knowledge is evil? Because I know for a fact that if you have knowledge, I cannot rule you. I'm going to say it again. If you have knowledge, I cannot rule you. Oh my bad, I didn't mean say rule, I meant control. You can rule a person with knowledge because that person gonna choose whether to serve you or not. But control? I can't control you if you're smarter than me. Let me go try to control Bill Gates or Elon Musk, which I could have sworn I heard his name in the past somewhere before. Maybe a different dimension or something like that. But his name sounds really familiar. Imagine that. If you are smarter than me, you know how hard it is for me to be able to control you. Because if you wanted to, you can leave and do your own thing at any time that you want. So, when we look at the church, it'd be easier to not give you any knowledge of anything, just lock the knowledge away and say that I'm an emissary of God instead of allowing me to speak to God themselves. Now, what we're talking about is how Christianity is used to hide the truth. Because when we look at the Bible and we look at how some of these secret societies serve, why are you serving Baphomet? Why are you serving these evil beings? That's because these so-called evil beings, they represent knowledge. They represent knowledge. Why do you think they call him Jehovah the slave god? He's the god of slaves. That's why they called him that. I'm not calling him that. I'm just saying that's why they called him that. But when we take a look and a deeper dive into it, what if Christianity was created to subdue mankind and make sure that the truth of the universe was hidden from them, so that way people could not exceed or ascend to the fifth dimension? As long as I don't let you know the true path or the true way, you will never reach the fifth dimension. But I will take that same knowledge that I'm hiding from you and use it to my advantage and use it to extend to the fifth dimension. So now you got these secret societies and these people going around thinking that they can use in Christianity, which is the reason why I had to be forced fed on you instead of allowing you to choose it. Because a lot of times you had the different religions. It wasn't just Christianity that was doing this. It was a lot of religions that was doing this, who basically tell you that either you believe in my God or you die. Which is funny because Christians are claiming that Lucifer is going to do the same thing at the end of days. You already did that 1,000 years ago when you decided to slaughter people because they didn't want to believe in Christianity. And yes, that did happen. You can try to hide the truth all you want, but the whole world knows that happened. Okay? You got 1 billion Catholics around the world who the majority of them already know that happened. So are we serving God out of love or fear? Because when we look at it at the end of the day, is that what if this doctrine was created to control you, to make you afraid of knowledge, to make you think that knowledge is the big bad wolf and that is evil? Because we know if you get that said knowledge, I can no longer control you. So y'all sitting up here, oh, you just rambling, saying all this stuff and this and that. Let's think about the theory. Let's think about the theory of Christianity being created to use to control people. What did they do during slave days? Blacks were never dumb. Blacks had their own language. Matter of fact, the majority of the world's languages come out of Africa. Africa has over 2,000 dialects alone. So what was the real reason? Even the Native Americans had thousands of dialects. So what was the real reason? That they didn't want blacks to read. Knowledge is power. That's why. They didn't want blacks to read during slavery because they know if blacks knew how to read, they would have the knowledge and the power to turn against their suppressors. We're just using that as an example. We're not here to talk about slavery or anything like that. We're just using that as an example. Knowledge has always been power. There's always been power behind knowledge. And that is the main problem, is that a lot of times is that people who don't have knowledge or who don't have the power of knowledge, they're easier to control. How many jocks run companies? You got the nerdy kid who's picked on at school by the jock. The jock ends up getting a low-end job or somewhere, while the kid who ended up getting picked on started his own business. Now the jock got to work for this kid. You got to work for the same kid you picked on. Why is that? Because knowledge is power. Without knowledge, you really can't do anything. You wouldn't know how to take care of yourself if you didn't have the knowledge to. You wouldn't know what plants or animals to eat unless you had the knowledge to. It's the same thing as like if I was to go out in the woods, I'm not just going to eat any and everything. I'm going to see what the animals do. Because the animals know which fruits are safe and which ones are not safe. Now, if I didn't have the knowledge to even do that, I would just go out there and just eat anything, end up sick or dead. But because I have that knowledge to watch these animals and see what they eat, I can survive. I don't have to trust somebody else to tell me to eat this plant when it could be poisonous. I have the knowledge to watch and see what nature does and follow in accordance. It's sort of like these world leaders. These world leaders have power over you because they rather hide the fact that you are powerful than for them to know that you are powerful. You don't have that knowledge to know that you're powerful, more powerful than world governments. It's the same thing with secret societies. I'm going to put it to you like this. Secret societies probably don't even have any hidden knowledge. They want you to think they have hidden knowledge. And that's where the power is. They probably don't even know anything. They probably don't even have anything. Imagine me creating a secret society in which I tell you there's this big secret, this hidden One Piece. It doesn't even exist. But because you think I know where it is, you give me the power to rule over you because you think I have some hidden knowledge that you will soon get access to without realizing that it doesn't exist in the first place. So knowledge is power. And it's the same thing we say in the they say in the Bible. But they knew that Christianity as a religious faith was not going to last long because they seen all the experiences with the other religions. So what do? They threw in that little hidden clutch in there by telling you that in the future people will turn away from Christianity. Yeah, because that's happened to all the other religions around that same time. They got turned against. So of course you're going to be able to tell me that they're going to turn against Christianity because you already know that they turned against other religions. Christianity is not the first religion on earth. It's never been the first religion on earth. There are other religions that existed before that, which is funny because all these other religions are seen as pagan, but yet Christianity is using these pagan ideas within their own religion. This cross right here, that's not originally gods or part of the Bible. Come on. That's not part of the Bible. It's not. So, what do you think about that theory? That the Bible was basically created as a way to control you by keeping you from knowing the real knowledge of all things. What do you think about that? What do you think? What do you think about any of this? Because like I said, we're not saying these are facts. We're just saying, hey, maybe this is what this means. Okay? Based off evidence alone. So you can go ahead and comment. Man, this was a long video. So go ahead and comment down below. And the next video, what am I going to do? We're going to touch base on a sensitive subject. A very, very sensitive subject. We're not talking about aliens, people. We're not talking about aliens. But we're going to touch on a very sensitive subject. And the reason why we're going to touch on that sensitive subject is because they're watching you.